Hey guys, welcome back to Rick Shiels Golf Show podcast. Everybody, I'm your host Rick Shiels. I'm here with co-host Guy. Episode 124. We've got a fantastic guest on today, Zane Scotland. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, you've got a hell of a history in golf.
Well, I've been around for a while now, which is not a great thing, is it?
Great to have you. Thanks for coming up. You've travelled up on train from London today to your kind of original birthplace, Manchester.
Yeah, can you not tell by my accent? It's not coming through.
Well, already we spoke on as you got off the train. You sound like a United fan, which you are
from London. Yeah,
like,
where they're all bloody from,
like most of us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think today's podcast is one that we were saying before, just our kind of off podcast, that we've very recently had some amazing guests, and I must admit, not just saying this because you sat in front of me, your story, which I know loosely, and obviously you're going to explain to us in more depth, is one that really excites me because I would class you as a kind of not a PJ golf coach, actually, a golf coach, which is something we talked about in the car before. But let's start with what you are or what you describe yourself as now, Zane, and let's go back and tell this story because I'm fascinated.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a golf lover. I've been obsessed by golf since I started when I was 11 years old. Chipping in the back garden, dragging my dad out of his pit at 5:30 in the morning to go play 9 holes before school. And
before school,
yeah. In the summer, we would do that, and it's the same. It's the same today. Like on the way up here, I'm on the train, sitting there on my own, thinking about this like kind of hand movement on the downswing. It's been a good feeling over the last few days. Like it's the same now. However many years in.
It was when you stood up in the middle of the carriageway and you started to pretend impact.
I was waking off the train with a 7-iron.
So you love golf?
Yeah, I love golf. Love all the aspects of it. And I think now I played competitively for a long time, which was amazing. There was lots of goods and lots of bads as well. And then now, it's almost become full circle. And now I enjoy like the stories in golf and watching the top of the game, and then just playing with my pals and so forth. And I'm just really, really fortunate to be in some different areas in golf now. It's not just playing. As much as I loved competing, it's quite stressful at times.
I must admit, I could imagine it being ridiculously hard work playing. Like we spoke to a few tour pros and even ex-tour pros, and I must admit, as much as it looks like the best life ever, playing these phenomenal golf courses for ridiculous amounts of money, I think unless you're in that world, you can't fully relate to actually how stressful, strenuous, kind of gut-wrenching it is, especially if you don't play well. If you don't play well, you it's not just a Saturday medal.
Well, I was chatting to some lads in the pro shop at the weekend. I was telling them about how hard it is to make it, which again, you're going to tell us even more depth, I guess. But I said to them, imagine if we weren't playing 4 holes now and we play for whoever buys lunch and you've got a putt to win. You might be a bit nervous over this. Let's now say we're saying the same match, but we're going to play for a brand new iPhone. You get more nervous again. Now let's say we're playing again 4 holes, but you're paying for your mortgage and your car and your bills. That must just be intense.
Yeah, I mean, when you're into that, like the private jet part of golf, the top echelons of golf, that's a little bit different because you're playing on house money and life's all great. But the bit up to that, the things you said there, it taps into so many things, all this like survival things. So the roller coaster of emotions that you can go into in around the golf is just, it's mental. Like, and even when I play now and again, like even now in some small events, there are stages when the round's going okay, and then the round slips a little bit, and then all those thoughts kind of come dragging back, and I have to sometimes remind myself, go like, no, this is not my full-time job anymore. Like, chill, like just chill. Like it's we go again tomorrow, sort of thing. But places like Q School and that sort of stuff, it really does. Looking back on it now, and also coaching some players who are on the way up, and trying to make it, and dealing with them, trying to remind them, that to put things into perspective, but really like completely empathise with what's going on. Like the end of last year, I went to the Europro Q School just for a bit of fun, really, because I needed to get affiliated for some to the PGA for some pro-ams I'm playing in this year, and it was really interesting being there and being around some younger players. And just you could just feel the tension, even at the first stage and at the final stage. It was everyone's being dead quiet, and you could just see the nerves on them, and they're making couple of times I had my pal caddying for me who used to play, and a couple of times one or two of the lads would they would go to do something. You almost want to go like, mate, just chill for a sec, just make it. It's a terrible decision, but it's the nerves that come into it.
Well, what year was it when we went to Lumina? Was that 19?
It was maybe 18 or 19.
We went to Lumina final qualifying over in Spain. And it was a really tense day, wasn't it? We're there for the final day, and we actually picked 6 players to do a little mini documentary on. 3 of them actually ended up qualifying, and 3 of them didn't. But it was weirdly like eerie. It was like
that's the word,
eerie.
It was
just
like
on the range beforehand.
Like the rain, people are there, they're practicing, they're hitting balls, but nobody's really talking because everybody is so like on edge that they have. This is their big shot. They have to do what they need to do. They have to get into that top whatever, a very, very small percentage. Yeah. And it was like a weird, eerie. Like I almost felt guilty for smiling and having a nice day in the sunshine because you're like looking at these guys and they've just got fear in their eyes. Yeah.
But even then though, they do well enough to get onto the European tour. That doesn't guarantee them every event. And some of them actually, like Jeff Winter's gone on to do well and Daniel Gavins has. But some of the guys, though, that get on tour, that in itself is an incredible achievement. But then it's just so hard to maintain your card and make a viable career out there. Yeah. It's so tough.
Yeah, I mean, being able to have some sort of perspective, which you're probably seeing with someone like Richard Bland now. You know, he's kind of got going, kind of knows the run of how it all works and a bit of confidence. But it's just that part of, as you say, you want to get to the tour, then it's like, okay, the first stage, can you keep your card? And so forth, and then there's always small parts. There's always like a level up. For a lot of people, it's a dream to get to the tour. You get to the tour, you're like, I'm not in every event now. Yeah. And then you get into the point where you keep your car for the first year, and now you're like, well, but then those guys ahead of me, they're in WGCs or they're winners. There's always another level.
Of course
there's always that little piece that tells you, like, by the way, you're not good enough yet. You're not good enough yet.
It's even like someone like, was it John Rahm that quite recently said that, obviously at the time, this was pre-recorded, he said this before last week, he was number 1 in the world, obviously Scotty Scheffler's just taken over that mantle, but he said like, he doesn't feel like he's going to complete golf until he like, overtakes like Jack Nicklaus's major records.
Well, that's it.
It's like,
I bet Tiger's the same.
Yeah.
I bet Tiger's not happy.
Yeah, is
that the only person...
We're actually a little bit like Tiger. That's what you're saying here. Yeah.
I'm a little bit like Tiger.
I wonder if the only person that's ever really, truly happy is Jack Nicklaus.
Then he's thinking all them seconds. Didn't he have like 20-odd seconds or something?
Yeah. Crazy. So, a little brief things that you've obviously done. You've played in the Open Championship at the age of 16, which is just...
I need to hear
crazy.
This story.
That is because aren't you the youngest player that's ever gone through qualifying to get into the Open?
Yes, youngest to go through the qualifiers. Yeah,
so you did regional qualifying,
the regionals, and
then final qualifying, and then played in the Open at Carnoustie in '99.
Yeah, Carnoustie. Yeah.
How?
Right. Yeah.
Explain. Like, obviously, you were off +2 at the time, I believe. So you were an elite kind of junior. Well, you were a junior golfer. How did that come about? Was it on a whim? Did you think I'm going to enter this year? How did you get to playing in the Open?
Well, it wasn't actually. I wasn't thinking about that too much, to be honest with you. My coach at the time, a guy called Scott Cranfield, he suggested at the beginning of that year, now you're scratched, because I was scratched at the beginning. You should do Open qualifying. It wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even know that's how it worked.
It was just for you at that time. It was just another event to play in because you were probably playing loads of events.
Yeah, when I was a kid, you just like I'm more worried about playing the junior medal tomorrow. Rather than you telling me something in 6 months, it's a long time. Then.
How are you going to spend your twos money this weekend?
Yeah. Have I got a brand new Balata to use tomorrow? So,
yes.
That sort of thing. And it just kind of, I was playing quite well that summer. And then when it came around, I guess a little bit of naivety would have come in. I went to the first stage and I took my pal who was going to caddy for me. So I was 16, he was 14. And we arrive at Romford Golf Club and we go into the pro shop and bought a course planner, the club one. Went round to the office and they give you like the fancy one, don't they? So I'd given that other course planner to my pal. Went into the office, got the fancy course planner, which is obviously in black and white, but it's got all the numbers.
It's really detailed.
More numbers than you can ever imagine you're ever going to need. And I come out and I was just looking at this thing going, this is unbelievable. This is so good. And so I go to show my pal Mikey. So look at this, look how good it is. And he looks at it and he gets his one next to it, which is in colour. It has like the 150 post and 175. And he just goes, oh, that's rubbish. Not even in colour. It's like, oh my God. And then there was someone there to give you golf balls. You get your dozen or 2 dozen golf balls in a glove, and there's pros around. And as a kid, you're just like, this is biggest thing.
I mean, at that time, did you feel like you were a competitor? Is it hard to kind of rewind to that point? Did you feel like you deserved to be competing, or did you actually feel like a kid that was almost spectating?
I guess it was I think before I got there, I hadn't really thought about it too much, because you don't do when you're a kid.
No.
And then when I arrived, I was a bit like, there's loads of pros here, like club pros, and like it just kind of named you.
A load of old men.
Yeah, literally like a load of old blokes and whatever. And then someone was giving you stuff. Like I was like, this is you literally felt like I was a tour player at this point now. Wow. You're going, this is good life, isn't it? This is nice. And and I was pretty nervous. I think, and I probably shot 1 under par, and I actually didn't I didn't actually qualify on the day, so I got like a alternate spot,
like a reserve
spot, and I think it was probably 32nd reserve. So I'm walking away from there thinking it was in the playoff. I earned the spot, and then I kind of left there thinking, that probably won't get in. Little did I know, everyone was like, oh no, that will definitely get in. And then one of my other pals, he had qualified at a different course, and him and his mate were caddying, were going up to Scotland, driving up, and they said, look, and I was thinking, will I get in? Will I not get in? They said, look, we'll go in, jump in the car, and we'll have come up, play practice rounds where we are, and see if you get in. So I was like, yeah, fine. So I'm just there. Why just not? with the boys, doing a road trip to Scotland, and I was friends with a guy from my club back home, a guy called Michael Lunt, who he did actually go on to be the captain of the RNA. But he worked for the RNA at the time, and he happened to be the delegate at the course that my pal was at. So I was doing practice rounds there. Had a couple of nice days, and then 7:30 the night before. So in those days, the qualifying used to be Sunday and Monday before the Open. So the Irish Open would finish.
Did it really?
Yeah, and then
I actually never realised that.
Yeah, so the Irish Open would finish on a Saturday. Then they would know who's in and out. So basically, a bunch of calls go out Saturday night to say you're in the next day. So I was like on the 16th hole, say like, Zane, you're in and you're here. In the place I'd actually been practicing for a couple of days, which at the time I was like, oh, that's cool. But now I think, yeah, he probably sorted that out, that I got that venue.
Wangled that, did it? Nice.
Maybe not. I will never know. Unfortunately, he's passed away now.
Oh no.
And so the next thing I knew, I was on the tee at final qualifying, and I was playing with Sergio Garcia, who won the Irish Open. So I took his spot, which meant I got to play with Robert Allenby. So I had quite a good draw.
You actually took Sergio's spot?
Basically, yeah.
That's class.
Literally took his spot. So then that got me with Robert Allenby.
Imagine if they hadn't changed the name. On the tee, from Spain, Sergio Garcia, and you turn up. I know, fellas, It's only me.
Then, right? So then this is the next part. So I'm now super nervous. I'm playing Robert Allenby, who I've watched on television, who's a top player. Get on the first tee, and there's a bunch of people watching, and I skied my first tee shot.
Natural, proper.
Skied it. It was just kind of short right at the fairway. I was mad nervous. And then on about the third hole, he comes over and he says, look, you got to stop walking on my through line. It's getting a bit annoying now. And I was just thinking, I'm just thinking, I don't have a clue what he's talking about. My caddy wants to go and punch him. And I'm just like, I'm just going to leave you to this. And then the other playing partner, he came across, and I kind of knew him a little bit because I'd met him before somewhere. He was a rep for a shaft company. And he went over and he's like, right, Robert, don't you try and pull that, that SH with me.
Did it?
It's all happening like third or fourth fairway. I was like,
oh my God.
And then on the fifth or sixth, I laid up on the par 5. I kind of semi-shanked a wedge shot, and it went right at the green. And at that point, all the pressure went out. I thought, well, it can't get any worse than this. And from that point, I literally just did not put a foot wrong. I chipped and putted, and then I just played mustard for the next 2 rounds.
What? Just 36 holes.
36 holes. Just played really well. I listened to a Bob Rotella Putting Out of Your Mind cassette.
Oh yeah.
On the way up, you turn it over. It's the other side, and that was in my head, and I just hold everything, and just didn't put a foot wrong. And in those days it was probably 8 spots got in. I think I was 3rd or 4th.
Wow.
In the qualifying, but just and Paul Laurie.
Did Robert get in?
So he wasn't very popular, to say the least, because there were a lot of people walking around. He was rude to some people walking around.
Way.
Yeah, like people moving and
all
this sort of stuff.
Diva.
Yeah, it was being a bit of a diva. And he actually left the course in a strop. And as it turned out, he actually got into a playoff, but he'd already gone to
my word.
He'd already gone to the airport, yeah. He was on -3 under played off. Yeah.
What a mistake that was. So, what did you realise, like going down the 18th hole, the 36th hole, that you had a chance, or did it not know till you got in? Like, because surely that must have been nerve wracking.
Yeah, you're right there in the mix. So the first round, I was maybe 4 under, so I knew I was in the frame. And the next day, you're kind of going out thinking like, just not got to mess up here, got to keep going. And then you kind of know because there's more and more people coming out to watch. So I didn't know the exact number, but you're like, I'm under par here. This is probably looking pretty good. And I think I got a plug bunker shot on about the 15th, and I hold it out the plug bunker shot.
Oh my God.
At that point, I was thinking like, right, I've got to hold on here. This is going to be it.
And do you remember a lot of this at 16?
Yeah.
Like, is it really etched into your mind?
I remember bits of it. Like I remember the bad first tee shot.
Yeah.
I remember the semi shot. I remember the whole bunker shot. I remember the putt going in on the last hole.
Wow.
I had a bladed 2-iron. I remember hitting 2-iron off the 18th, and it's coming straight out the middle. But like now, I'm thinking about that. Bloody hell.
Why did you?
Why did I do that?
That was brave.
That was a 16-year-old choice.
Of course
That
it
would
is.
have been, yeah.
And were you quite an old 16-year-old? Like, did you have an old head on you, or were you?
I don't think so.
I feel like me at 16, I just wouldn't have been in that mindset.
But in a bizarre way, I think that almost like they said, the naivety can help you in some regard.
I'd have been turning up in my Burberry hat and my Jay Lindenberg stripe
White
pinstripe
belt.
pants and my white belt and my sweatbands.
Footjoy Classics.
And shot like 93. Like I wouldn't have 16. I don't think I would have been in the right headspace.
I think I'd played well for the few weeks up to it. So the week before, maybe 2 weekends before, I'd won a Junior Open, to which I won like this was quite funny actually. So I'd won like 2 wedges like for winning it. So like they were straight in the bag, and I had this old driver which I'd cut down, which had a rattle, and because I cut it down, it was like really light. It just didn't go properly. So then I was teeing off mainly with a 3-wood, which I'd swapped with my mate, like just before, literally before a junior medal the month before, and it was a regular shaft, and it was really whippy. But I figured out if you swung it really slow, it would just like kind of kick and go off like a rocket. And then I was borrowing my dad's clubs because my one was a 2 whippy, and my putter I swapped at a county game with one of my other pals.
See,
So I was literally playing a whole like bag of standards.
Everything you've just said then reminds certainly me of when I was like
100%
15,
the swapping
16.
clubs.
I used to love swapping clubs.
Yeah.
Best.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like I used to swap so often, it was ridiculous, with putters or drivers or.
I remember swapping some Adidas Tour 360s for a Cobra 5 hybrid once. Yeah. It was just random.
Which way round did that go?
So I got the hybrid.
Oh, right.
Yeah. The shoes were too small, so I fancied a little hybrid. Again, it was regular. It was too soft, but you swung it a certain way and it worked.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny, like, as a kid or any golf event, really, you've played well, you've won, yet you win golf clubs?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bit of a weird concept.
I remember
that,
once
innit?
the longest drive comp won a driver, which I thought was bizarre.
Yeah, don't get that.
Yeah.
Don't get that
But
at
what
all.
else can you give, really, that's substantial? Like maybe a golf bag or.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've always found golf prizes are strange because typically if you've won it, you've played well, and you end up winning something that might interfere
Can't
with you.
beat just Pro V1s, dozens upon dozens of balls.
Balls, yeah.
But they just don't always look as like visually pleasing, do
No,
they, on a
they don't.
presentation table?
No.
Like some guy walking out with a golf bag or a driver looks like he's won more than a guy with 3 boxes of balls, even though the value actually might be more with the balls.
Yeah.
So that's great. So you went to Carnoustie?
Yeah, so that's it. So you play Sunday, Monday, and then then we went to Carnoustie on Monday night, and we had obviously nowhere to stay. So I was just sitting there, with one of my pals probably playing a Game Boy or something like that. While my dad was like probably going out of his mind trying to find somewhere for us to stay.
And was he up in Scotland with you at this
he,
point?
He drove up after I had a good first round because he probably
Did
thought,
he really? Yeah.
Yeah, he drove
No
up
way.
literally like through the night. Yeah. So so he drove up. So that was cool. And and Tuesday you're on the range. So you go from literally
ridiculous.
playing a Junior Open to like on the range, and Darren Clark's there, Greg Norman's like right behind me, and it was just I'm just there hitting balls, but in a weird way. Then my dad came over going, "Oh, this is amazing," but I'm just like going, "Like, what are you talking about?" Because I'm thinking I've watched golf, I've watched these guys. Like there's Greg Norman. I'm like, yeah, like thinking like I watch him on telly. Like I'm just happy that I've got his brand new Pro Vs to come and hit like off this tight turf. That's what I'm interested in that. And then then you're into the whole like all of a sudden now getting given clubs, and do you want to come on the van and get like 6 pairs of shoes, and do you need a golf bag, all that sort of stuff. And then at some point you're like, oh, I probably need to go and play a patch around that course over there. But you're so, as a kid, you're just thinking, I can walk on there and just take stuff. They're like, yeah, what do you need? Like, I'd like a new driver. Like, well, okay, should we make you 2 then? I'm like, Yeah, right.
Well, I owe my mate a putter, so could I get a 33-inch putter? And I've got another mate who's left-handed. Can I get a left-handed wedge?
Well, what was a lot of media sniffing around and stuff then? Because again, a 16-year-old who's qualified. That must have been very, very unusual. Like I said, the youngest ever.
Yeah, there was actually. There was, because I kind of did the interview straight away, like the day that I qualified, and all that sort of stuff. And then Sky did some stuff. So to right, we're gonna film you putting your clubs in the car and driving off, that sort of stuff, waving out the window, like you wave out the window when you drive away from the golf club, all that sort of stuff.
Of course you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the Queen.
So there was quite a bit, but again, being quite like, I think when I got there, I think because I'd like watched it and I'd love watching the PGA Tour and so forth. In your head, you're thinking, and also at 14, I made that decision. I was like, I'm going to be a golfer. Yeah. And there's no other reason that we all know now. There's a million reasons, but when you're 14, you don't realise there's any reason why you shouldn't be able to do anything you want to do. So I kind of I guess in my head, maybe bought into it anyway. So when it came along, I was like, yeah, it's fine. I wasn't very good at it, obviously. Not very good now still. But it was. You
were good enough. You were pretty good.
It was like, yeah.
And did you have at that point, you're in the Open, you're 16. Did you have like managers coming sniffing around? Did you have like sponsors? Did suddenly you get like a big wig in a suit going, "Hey Zane, nice to meet you, I'm Mr. Whoever. Let's sign you up."
Well, I think my dad was kind of like fielding a few. There were a few, obviously, like the IMGs, and so there were a few managers that had come to chat to us. Apparently, the guy that looked after Tiger at Nike came and walked a few holes, that sort of stuff. But I mean, my dad was like, he loved all that sort of stuff. That's right. Yeah, he's good at that sort of stuff.
So he was entertaining the chats.
Yeah, he was loving all that bit of it, and he was doing all that, and I was just there playing golf. To be honest, I didn't know half. I get told stuff by my mum, my dad, and my sister now about that week, and I was like, oh, did it? I didn't have a clue.
Oh my god!
I think even on the morning that I was playing, they still had to get me out of bed. I still didn't get out of bed till about 11 o'clock or something like that. I was I was always pretty laid back, and I just kind of took it all weirdly took it in my stride. And when I look back now, I think, what was I doing? Like, should have been like bounced off the wall.
Do you think you would have done it different now, looking back?
Slightly. I got to play again in 2010. By this point, I was a professional golfer, and I was determined to make it a very different experience for that one. Because the first time around, you just no, exactly. This is great, and like
you're an amateur, 16,
meet people, no pressure.
Who did you play with? Can you remember?
I played with a guy called, I think it was Lee Thompson, who was a local
Lee
pro.
West,
yeah.
What's he called?
And then Warren Bennett. But in the practice rounds, I played with Per Ulrich Johansson. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, I do.
Ryder Cup player. Played a few holes with Parnevik, Phil Price.
Nice.
That was cool, just to play the practice rounds with those guys and chat to them. And I remember like Per was giving me little tips on every hole, like links golf, you've got to make sure you switch off and switch on, when you go from left to right, wind to right to left, winds, that sort of stuff. It's just a mayhem. It's a mayhem week. There's probably so many little stories I could go into.
Did you have ambitions for that week then, or were you just kind of, like you said, did you start thinking, I want to make the cut, or I want to win this, or were you just literally just enjoying every moment?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know. Yeah, I just enjoyed every moment, really. All my mates came up. Some of them stayed in the tent. Some of them like ended up being in our house when we stayed there. That was just magic, really. Going down in the first round, I turned off at 4 o'clock in the first round, and I'd seen that like Vijay Singh had shot like 83. Marco Mira, he was defending champion, he shot like 81. So I knew it was like, this is not like a normal pro event. And it was, but I was about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 over going down the 9th hole. And I'd heard that Sergio started like poorly. And I'm thinking, oh, this is bad, like 5 over par already, it could be embarrassing. And I went over to the gallery because my mates were there, and I said to him, what did Sergio shoot? And he shot 89. And I just went like, the pressure went out of my body. I was like, I'm going to beat that.
Shot 89?
Yeah.
In the opening round?
Yeah. And he had won the previous week.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was brutal. But, I was just cruising around. I'm 16 years old. Yeah, whatever.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So then, fast forward. So when did you actually turn pro from that? So you're 16, you just played in the Open. Was it a few years later then you turned pro?
Yeah. So I turned pro probably when I was 20.
Okay.
20 or 21. Yeah. So then, I kind of went back and did the amateur stuff. I played for England and played for GB&I and played all the amateur events, and kind of got better, and obviously taller and a bit stronger and that sort of stuff. And then when it dealt with the other stuff, then kind of turned pro when I was 20. I had a car crash just before I turned pro.
Oh God.
And I did turn pro about 3 months after that, but I probably wasn't quite ready.
Really? Was it a bad car crash?
Yeah, just like, someone was turning right into my road. She was looking left but turning right, and anyway. So that was I did my neck in. And so the first couple of years of being a pro, I didn't really have like a full run at it. It was always like, right, don't play for 4 months. We'll do all these treatments, so forth. Then we'll try and play. Which when you're playing at that level, you cannot get away with that. Cannot get away with it. So I had some profile to get some invites, but I didn't really press on with them, and it was difficult. And I went down and played the Asian tour for a little while, but I had to come back because my neck was like. So I got my card there, but I had to come back. My neck was playing up, and then I just kind of like I'd finally, after about 4 years of being a professional, it was tough really from being like finding everything really easy to then all of a sudden like finding everything really, really difficult. And you ask yourself loads of questions. You think it's you. You think, oh, what's wrong with me? But when I look back, I was like, I couldn't really do like practice or put in the time you need to be at that level. Yeah. And you get found out quickly at that level. And then I found the treatment which made my neck better. And then I was playing a bit of Euro Pro and Challenge Tour, and I went across to do the French Open qualifying, which I wasn't going to go to. My dad had talked me into it because one of my pals was driving from Germany across to France, and he said, "Look," I know you said you're tired, but you got a week off. You might as well go and do the qualifying, and then you come home after that." So I went down there, and we got lost. We got lost like driving overnight to this golf course. We couldn't find a hotel, so then we had to drive. Basically, we thought we'd just find the airport because there would be a hotel at the airport. So then we're still like 2 hours away from the venue, having had no practice round, and it was 36 holes, so we had to get up early. We literally arrived like 15, 20 minutes before tee off for the qualifying for the French Open.
I love all the little stories like this.
I went into the pro shop to buy a t-shirt because more t-shirts will smelly from the week before, and I had time to hit probably 8 balls before these 2 rounds of qualifying for the French Open, and after about 3 balls, I just thought of like a drill that John Jacobs had given to me, probably like near a year previous.
Just suddenly popped into your
mind. It just came into my head.
Again.
I thought I'll just try that, and I hit a lovely shot. And I thought I'd do that again, and did another one again. And you just go, what if I work with driver? Got a driver out and just hit like 4 or 5 balls, just really on a piece of string. I was like, well, I've got to go now on the tee, and it was the weirdest thing. I had probably 36 of the best golf I've played. Just from first to last, and I won the qualifying by about 6 shots. Just weirdly enough, just popped into my head, just completely randomly off the back of no sleep, like a Red Bull on the way to the tee, and then that got me into the into the French Open. And I mean, my mum.
Where was that played?
That was at Golf International.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What year? So what year was this?
That was 2007. Yeah, 2007. And literally, my mum lent me some money to go, to go to. My mum lent me 500 quid to go to the challenge the week before. Then I qualified. Then one of my dad's mates, I played in a random pro-am. He's an electrician. He gave me 600 quid. Get yourself a proper caddy. So luckily through Scott Cranfield, he knew Phil Price. So he was like, we had caddies having a week off. So yeah, you can use him for a week. And then just kind of went into the French Open all like completely like, this is great. Like I remember looking down the list thinking, right, if you make the cut, you get like 7,000 euros, which at that time was like, I'll take that.
Of course.
And then I was playing quite well. Took my John Jacobs like little tip basically.
Can you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was good. I'll share it with you in a sec. Yeah, I made the cut, and then you're just like, well, I've made the cut now. At that point you feel like you're playing.
Well,
on
that's it. You're already $7,000. You're definitely going to make $7,000.
Exactly, and then kind of cruising on and playing with Graham Storm. I'm one behind with him with about 6 to play. One behind the lead. So he had. I didn't know at the time, but I knew we were up there. And then he basically parred in because the Golf National was really difficult. I didn't do too much wrong, but dropped a couple of shots on the way.
Was it quite new then? Because didn't it get built for the Ryder Cup or not? Was it remodeled?
It was been there for a while.
Oh, had it? Right, okay.
As I understand it, it's not that old, is it? But it was.
No, I thought it had been built just for the Ryder Cup. To be honest, right?
Yeah, it'd been there for quite a while. So then he parred in and won the tournament. So I was literally shaking the hand of the winner.
Oh my goodness!
At a main European Tour event, really. So that was I bogeyed a couple of holes, dropped back to like 10th. But from where I'd been, this is now amazing. Now I had
so you made proper check.
Yeah, I made that. It was about €70,000, and I was thinking, all of a sudden, I've gone from borrowing 500 quid off my mum.
That's ridiculous.
To like a €70,000 check.
What? Did she add interest? Yeah.
Yeah, I had to borrow a telly or something like that.
He had interest, and so she did, and so did the electrician that you played with the week before.
It still wouldn't be enough to pay her back.
That's great.
That is a good year. I've just been looking, and you had a good year that year. There must have been.
What year is this then?
2007.
Yeah, off the back of nothing really. And then I was at the time, my management company IMG. They, having not really heard from him for ages because when you don't play very well, you don't hear from him. All of a sudden, walk off the back of the 18th green. And he's like, "Yeah, by the way, you're in next week." And that kind of that juggernaut picks up. And I went to the Deutsche Bank. Got into that, and I was leading after 2 rounds, and then just went through one of those periods where I just couldn't put a foot wrong. The third round, I was 6 under through 5 holes. Then I had a putt to go 7 under through 6, and 3 putted. But anyway, then again, it just got me onto the next week. That got me into the next week, and just you go through times in golf where every putt lips out, every cut you get close to, you miss by a shot. And I just went through a period where every putt that was on the lip fell in.
Dropped in.
Every cut I got near to, I made. It was I just got on that run. Like I went to Russia. I was 1 outside the cut line playing the last hole. And I was thinking, it's going to be the first cut I missed. 'Cause I think I played like maybe 3 or 4 events until then. And then I hold my shot from the fairway.
No
the cut.
way.
I was just like, you're just thinking, I just can't.
Yeah, you can't
not.
not.
At the moment.
Yeah, you can't not make the cut.
You made some. I'm just looking now. You made some serious cuts that year.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
That's why he's buying all his NFTs now. that was his retirement fund.
Still living off that.
Wait there. So one.
What's his tip then? While he's counting your wins up.
And so
I was like about 14 cuts in a row.
Yeah, it was just got on a run. Yeah, I've been on the other side of it, so like I'll happily relive those. That part. Yeah,
it's like you can hear about all the wins, can't you? From someone goes to the casino, but you never hear about the losses.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what's this tip? Everyone's itching.
Yeah, so
to know.
So he came to an opening at a driving range, and he couldn't really see very much. So he said to me, like,
I was going to say, he must have been getting
he was
old quite
really.
then.
So I had a stall out for him, and he just said, look, you just tell me what the ball's doing. I'll watch you swing. You tell me what the ball's doing. So I was overdrawing it.
Yeah.
And so I hit a few of those, and he said to me, right, start with the club back and to the inside, so about a foot behind the ball and to the inside. I went, yeah. He said, now swing inside, and then basically swing over it, clear left hip and hit a fade. So just like it put me in a big draw position.
So take it back on the inside, come over the top.
Yeah, and basically hit a fade. So it was like
just a massive exaggeration.
Start inside and then swing inside, and then you have to then like really turn your left hip out of the way so you can then hit a fade. So I hit about 2 or 3 of those. And he said, what did that one do? What did that one do? Yep, that faded. Right, now hit a normal one. And obviously the exaggeration broke the feel of like me going outside and
looping it back.
Under. Yeah. And I pretty much played off that feel for like a year and a half.
What?
And just had it on a piece of string. Which
but
was
weirdly,
nice.
weirdly, you didn't implement it straight away. You implemented it like a year and a bit after.
Which happens, right? Like
of course it does.
I do stuff now. Like I've had online lessons from like 5 years ago, and I'll rewatch the video, and I'll go, I completely didn't hear that the first time that person told me that. And as much as even coaching now, completely not exempt from the fact of like you go into a lesson with what you think you want or want to get out of it, and you don't necessarily take in what the expert you paid really good money to tell you. Yeah, but that's fine. But can we just do what I want to do?
Yeah. You can be a bit blinkered.
I think it's because change is hard as well. Sometimes I've got problems with my golf swing. I know I need to change, and I kind of know roughly what to do, but it's difficult, and I want to fix it, but I don't want to put the effort in.
The effort's the hardest bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously you were then European Tour player.
Yeah.
Were you sponsored this time?
Yeah.
Did you have a club deal? Clothing deal?
So I'd been with Callaway since I was a kid, really, since I was about probably 17 or 18. So that just kind of kicked in. I was already using the clubs, and they had like a system where, if you're this rank of player, you go straight into that contract. And then IMG kind of got me a couple of other corporate sponsors and so forth. But but you know what though, it was so different then. I could never have told you at any point how much I would have had in my bank account, for instance. I just thought it was so much. It was honestly just about playing golf.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't interested in like. You are interested, but I wasn't like that. Wasn't the driving force. I was still like I was still living at home with my mum, sort of thing. Like wasn't that fussed about like moving out. 'Cause I was thinking I'm on tour now. That's fine. That's all I wanted to do.
This is the life I live now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's weird from having from doing well then to then really struggling at different times. Like I was just still, my life's the same. Still play golf every day. Like,
Of course.
in the back of my mind, that's always been the bit of a safety net, really. Like, whatever happens, I'll still be able to play golf, sort of thing.
So when you're going through that time and stuff as well, and obviously you're saying you're not too bothered about the money in the bank, you just wanted to play golf and you wanted to win tournaments and stuff. Like, when you're out on tour as well, is it hard to, like, think about settling down at any point or having, you know, getting married or having kids? Or is that just a thought that's never in your mind when you're out on tour? Is it, I guess you have to be quite self-centered.
Yeah, it hadn't really crossed my mind at all, really. Like, yeah, that's it. Everything revolves around you playing golf.
Yeah.
Like, you almost, you know, it's actually probably not very good for your social skills, because you just think that, like, if I play good golf, the rest of the world works. But in the time of when I got injured and wasn't able to play for long periods of time, it was probably, as a person, probably good for me, because all of a sudden you have to, like, get out of your box of everyone just doing things for you, and you can just get by because you're good at golf and people want to come and talk to you. You have to, like, actually engage some sort of social skills, sort of thing. So that was probably, so being injured for a long period of time probably helped that side of things. So, because I would never have got that, because I kind of went from, you know, having some profile from playing in the Open at 16. So then all of a sudden I was just a golfer.
Yeah.
And everything just happened off the back of that. So I didn't have to try really with other stuff, because I wasn't bothered about it. Because all I was bothered about was playing golf. Like, what was my golf game doing? So yeah, that probably, in a weird way, probably helped that side of things. But I would happily have not get injured and, you know, be like flying around in private jets now and being a millionaire and that sort of stuff. But you know, good comes from those situations.
What was the highest world ranking you got to?
I'm not sure how high I got. Probably around 200 or so.
Okay.
I think so, something like that.
Was
200
when you're playing, because you hear a lot of players say
239, I think.
Okay, yeah.
When you see a lot of players saying that, like, sometimes they don't really care about world ranking. Was it something that was on your mind? Or I know it gets you into certain events, but it was anything that you was like, I desperately want to break into the top 200, 150.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't know until years after that sort of what my world ranking was.
Is that right?
Yeah. I guess I was probably only ever interested in really, like, being in the top 50.
Yeah.
So until I was at that point, I wasn't that bothered. And I'm not really like a number watcher. Like, I wouldn't think, like, this is where I am, this is where I'm going to go. I never really planned anything out. In hindsight, I would probably be a bit more, now being a coach, be a bit more goal driven and this by this, how are we going to get there and that sort of stuff.
Is that the advice you give to your students now?
Yeah, there's so many different tours now. So now I said, look, and everyone gets wrapped up in, oh, if you win this, you get into this tournament and you get into that. I said, don't worry about that. Just keep playing good golf.
Yes.
Your world ranking will take you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Like, you can get so wrapped up in all the other stuff.
Well, do you find it hard then when you're like, well, I suppose it's got benefits as well, but when you're coaching people now and you've been there and done it and you've experienced the highs and, like you said, the lows, when you're coaching people, can you see in their ability that you think that they're not going to do it, or they are? How do you kind of approach that, or do you just coach people and then they take care of the golf themselves, or do you give them advice, or how does it really work?
Yeah, you do look at some players, and there's some players you look at and think, yeah, they've got something.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, unless something outside of golf really detracts them, I'll be amazed if this person didn't get to a really high level. And then there's others come in and you think they've not got it to get to the high level, but you know what, they're gonna do it regardless. And if I have and it's the same amount of effort and focus. If someone's going to make, say, 20 million, and you can help them make 25 over their career, that's kind of my job. And it's the same if you think this person may have a career earnings of 20 grand. If I can turn that into 30 grand for them, then that's a success in itself. Because part of, as much as we all want to get to the top of the game, part of just chasing the dream is something that you don't get to do forever. So if you can do it for a short time and, it doesn't take you into a really bad spot financially, then, then you got to give it a go. That's bringing something. And you know what? I think playing good golf, and whatever level, whether you're playing with your pals, you just want to get better at golf, or you're at the top of the game, like, it's exactly the same feeling.
Yeah, well,
exactly the same feeling.
When we spoke to Faldo, he said it takes, obviously, technical strength, physical strength, and mental strength. And he says that to get to the highest, like, you've got to have all three. Like, there's no questions. You can't be weak in any area. Yeah, I reckon there are a lot of golfers, and he mentioned it, that have the technical strength, the physical strength, but the mental strength is really hard to be a winner.
Yeah.
To really push yourself to that next level.
It's even the mental strength off the course, because you're thinking about, like, walking down, like, again, trying to make a cut walking down the 18th fairway and you've got to hold a putt. But like you said, being at like a random airport, like Kazakhstan airport, and you've missed a cut, and you've got to then go and fly to a hotel, and like,
your
that
phone's
must
just died.
Yeah,
like, do you know what I mean?
That was an event you did not want to miss the cut. You couldn't get out of there on a Friday night. You had to wait till the Sunday. That was
that really? Is that a good one?
I've heard people
that's
use
a really
that
good
before.
one. That
But like, it just must be. Again, I know we say this a lot, and we almost obsess over it. But the life that these guys, middle of the park, live, it's not what people think. But I suppose the beauty of it is, the next week, it's almost like the lottery. Next week could be the week.
Yeah.
And these guys have to have some level of belief, and your life could change in 36 holes, 72 holes.
Yeah.
So when did you start to transition out of playing full time and doing kind of what you do now? Because obviously you wear quite a few hats now, don't you?
Yeah.
Obviously coaching,
Yeah.
TV presenting,
Yeah.
still a little bit of playing. You mentioned earlier. NFT entrepreneur, which you've just taught us a little bit about, and I'm getting very excited about NFTs. When did this start to transition? What was the journey between you playing every week without question on the European Tour as it was known then, to then was it more of a conscious effort yourself? Was it injuries, or what were you kind of forced into it because you didn't make as much money or whatever it was?
Yeah, probably a little bit of all of the above, really. So initially, I started to have a back injury, so I was kind of going back into what I had with my neck, where I wasn't able to do what you need to do to be able to compete full time at the top level. So that was kind of creeping in.
And was this linked to the car crash at all?
No, nothing to do with it. Just wear and tear. Come from my generation, we just didn't look after our bodies as well. We didn't know that that's what we had to do. Long haul flights, getting off. Not just I take responsibility for that. I didn't look after my body well enough for that amount of time, and then when I had my card, I kind of went down this journey of like, I had a bad stretch and I wanted to work out why, because it was a technical issue. And so I kind of switched coaches a couple of times, and then I kind of ended up kind of stumbling across like a Morad Mac-O'Grady golf coach, which, anyone who's into the golf swing would know.
Yeah.
And I went to a couple of his golf schools, which was like mind blowing really at the time. In hindsight, as a player, I should never have gone, because it's just way too much information, and it probably took me about 6 years to kind of get like a little bit of like, I kind of understand what he's talking about now. It took a long time to kind of settle in my brain, and so I was at a Minotaur event just filming my swing like I would always do. By this point, I never wasn't interested in golf swing when I played well. Probably tells me something like that. And there was a young lad there. I was kind of, my pal and I, Josh, like we would like, I'd help look at his swing and so forth now and then. But then this other lad, Todd, had come on, Todd Clements, and he went, we look at my swing. He was an amateur, maybe like 1,500 in the world. And I was like, yeah, I'll have a look. Like,
because you felt like you had some technical knowledge at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I kind of had like a bit of a baseline that I was looking at it from. And I think he just saw me doing it. And I was like, well, I'll give you my opinion. And I gave him my opinion. Then he just happened to take that, and he was already a really good player, just pointed him in the right direction, and he played really well for like 6 weeks in a row. And he just went bounding up the amateur world rankings, and he went from like 1,400 up to like inside the top 500 to like 250 or something like that. And then we came home that winter, and we played a round of golf with my pal Josh and Todd. And unbeknownst to them, in the first 9 holes, they both approached me and said that, like, quite enjoyed doing that stuff. Would you do it full time?
They both approach you kind of individually.
Yeah, exactly. Just in a 3-ball. And in my head, I was thinking, I'll probably start a golf academy when I'm like 50.
Yeah.
And now I'm like early 30s or mid early 30s, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, maybe I'll just help these guys out. And next thing I know, because they did well, Todd's got a mate. He went, oh, can you have a look at my swing? Can you have a look at my swing? And it just snowballed. And next thing it was like, I've got like a full on squad here of like good players and youngsters really. So
how did it make you feel when Todd started to do well?
It's completely different. Like, it's a completely different feeling to yourself doing well. I mean, he started to smash it really, and he was such a good talent anyway. He just needed just go in that direction, and he won the English Amateur at the Berkshire, and that was like a real big moment because we were sat on the terrace afterwards, and the English Amateur trophy is massive, and I was
huge trophy.
Yeah, it's a huge trophy, and I was like, well, add this to the collection. He went, I've never won anything before.
You joking?
He's won like a little club event, but he's never won anything like this before. And I was like, but I think because my amateur career was like from a kid, like that's just what you do.
You won everything.
Yeah, it feels that way. Yeah, you get better as you get older. You get further away from when it actually happened. Yeah, and then he just really pressed on from that point, really.
And did you have like mixed emotions about him doing well though? Because as a player, because were you competing him at this time or not? Were you on completely different paths?
I play on. We would play alongside each other on the MENA tour.
Like, how did you feel like you've helped him do really well?
Yeah.
Like, you've helped him beat you effectively.
Well, see, it was all right then, because he was an amateur, so he wasn't taking money out of my pocket.
It was only when he turned pro.
No, but it was good. It was actually really nice for me because it kind of took me away from all those dark, like you've had a good or a bad day.
Yeah.
But then you like finish, you're like, okay, but how have they done?
How did he do?
And if he did well, or if the other players did well, it was kind of like, okay, well, that's another. Just compartmentalize it a bit easier to deal with, I suppose.
Yeah, the worst time is if you all come like bottom three, and then there's nothing there, is there?
Struggling, yeah.
Also, so like almost accidentally, would you almost compare it similar to like Robert Rock? Because he's kind of got obviously set up school. He started to coach some of his other colleagues as such, and you kind of went down that route, and now you have a stable of how many students would you say? Good top quality students.
Like now. You kind of have a different ones, and you have people come every week and then in and out. Really, like now, probably have like elite players. They're probably across Josh and I, we probably look after about maybe 15 to 20, I suppose.
And these are a mixture of really good amateurs, pros,
male, female.
Where's like your highest rank pro at the moment?
So still do all performance stuff with Todd. Probably the last year or so, probably done less because it's into the COVID time. So now it's kind of out of now I've kind of moved into a situation where I don't travel quite as much.
Of course.
So now I've actually found that actually dealing with the players on the way up, like that really suits me. And now I'm completely comfortable with like when someone gets to the tour, they want someone out on tour.
Right.
Yeah. That's just kind of the way it goes.
Like so a Mike Walker.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Like
Liam
that.
James and so forth. So like for instance, a lad called Toby Tree, we helped Toby Tree get to the tour.
Yeah.
And then it was going really well, but you could just tell he's just like, I just want someone who's going to watch me hit balls for 4 hours.
Did he win the silver medal, or did he do well in the Open?
Toby did well in the Open, yeah. So like, I was thinking, I just don't want to do that.
It's not your thing, is it?
I haven't got that. So I'm like, now getting to a point, I'm more than comfortable to like do all the bit up to it. That's that sort of part of it. But going out on tour full time, I can't see that for quite a while now. To be honest.
Maybe till obviously your son grows up, and then I'm guessing it's nice now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing it's nice now because obviously you probably see him quite a lot, and if you were traveling a lot, you wouldn't do, I guess. Like, that's the hard time. When you start to have a family, travel becomes a lot harder.
It does, and also now I just love the fact that like because I get to like talk about golf with the commentary, still get to play golf, get to coach it, get around, be there with different people. I really love each piece of what I do, and it's like because I think if I was like churning all day long, which I highly respect people that they do, I wouldn't enjoy
churning lessons
quite
out.
as much. Yeah, just churning.
You've got a variety,
lessons.
I guess, haven't you?
I really like every part of it. And it's just I just sometimes I wake up just thinking like, this is amazing, really. And people say to me, "Would you go back out on tour full time?" And I'm like, yeah. If I was at Sawgrass, being in part of the private jet crew, that's one way of doing it. But anything other than that, I'd much prefer doing what I do now.
Was there a point then, obviously you started off saying you love golf, and you can tell by your passion you do, and rightly so with the career you've got, but was there ever a point where you fell out of love with golf when times weren't as good, or was that love for it always there?
I don't think I've ever fallen out. I think when I wasn't playing, I think I probably went through a couple of months where I thought, you know what, I'm actually just going to distance myself from golf because it was quite tough that I wasn't able to play because I was injured. But around that, I've just always obsessed by it, really, just loved it.
I think it's unique how you play so much as well, because a lot of coaches typically don't play as much because either they want to get away from the golf course on the days off or whatever, but the fact that you still play so much as well, does that help you with your coaching, do you feel like, because you still got your hand in?
Yeah, I think it does, because I think it's really important for coaches to play golf just because, and I understand that some coaches will feel there's like a expectation or a pressure on playing and what you would shoot, because I had it at the beginning now when I would not played so much, I was doing more and more coaching. I'll go to an event thinking, if I play badly, are they going to disrespect? They're going
to lessons will all cancel,
lose respect and so forth. Because I'm literally playing in the same tournament as some of the lads I'm coaching. But you know what you realise after a while, no one cares. They're so into themselves, their own game. They don't really care. And also, you just get more comfortable that they understand that your role as a coach is different from being a player. And yeah, I think it's really important to just to keep playing, just to almost understand how difficult it is.
Yeah.
To be able to empathise, to be able to like still go through like me like on the way up here thinking about a little move that I'm working on, like just to like live that. 'Cause it's quite easy to say to somebody, look at all the figures and numbers. You should just do this and this, and your game will improve.
Yeah.
And like going, yeah, but when I'm a bit nervous and the wind's out the left, like I can't really do that. What can I do?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've got a question for both of you actually, just quickly. So the PJ now, since the World Handicap System, you can turn pro off, do PJ off 6, which is obviously still a good level of golf. But what do you both think about? I know, like I said, people don't care too much, but how good at golf does a golf coach have to be, or does it have literally no relevance? You come in first, Rick.
I think there needs to be a level of standard. Yeah. So when I did the PGA, you had to be a 4 or less. I actually didn't know it'd gone up to 6, to be honest with you. And we used to have to do a playing ability test. Yeah. And the playing ability test was on paper fairly straightforward. Do you know what the playing ability test? It's 2 rounds of golf and you got to shoot under 15 over. Which does sound a lot, but it's kind of like a weird, normally when you play golf, certainly me growing up and as I was kind of in my amateur game, you try and score the best score you can possibly score, right? Where this time now you're put in a position where as long as you've beat 15 over, you're good. Yeah. And it was dead weird. Like I've never hit so many hybrids off a tee. Like I remember playing, I just hit hybrids everywhere and I think that, I'm not saying it was phenomenal golf and I obviously I qualified and got in, but I felt like it was, everyone were there. You could tell it kind of somewhat weeded out some of the guys who really couldn't actually play golf, really, to be honest with you. But I don't also think that's the only route of coaching now. I think to be a PGA pro and to coach, that's one route. But I think there are other ways now to become a reputable coach. Like you say, obviously being an ex-tour player, you're now a coach. I think if you've got really good knowledge and understanding, you can still be a great coach. Like, would I go and have a lesson with Butch Hardman? Absolutely, of course I would. Obviously, he's done it and he's been there, done that. But he might go out and not be able to break 90 now. But that's okay. I'll still have a lesson with him. Or there'll be other examples of that, personally. I think as long as you've got a really good understanding and you can play to a decent enough level, it's more your knowledge, I find. Going back to your point a minute ago, and I'll get Zane's answer on that in a second. I remember when I was coaching full-time at Trafford and proper churn out lessons, I 100% went through a spell, maybe about 2 or 3 years where I hardly played golf. I hardly played golf. And I was coaching, indoor range. And it was only when I started to play more golf, I thought, oh, crap, like, there's a lot of things I've overlooked here. Because at the time I was just a driving range golf coach, and that's all I knew. Yep. Where once I started playing golf, it's like, oh, no, let's not worry about hitting a driver on launch monitor with this much spin, this much launch. Let's focus on that in-between club. Let's focus when you have got wind off the left. Let's focus on that really nervous tee shot that you want to try and nail. It's only when you start playing golf do you actually remember all those things. And as a coach, I think that really helps you. I don't think you have to play at an amazing standard. I just think you need to play at a standard to go, okay, I understand golf. Like, I understand all the elements because I've played last week and I know how hard it is to hit certain shots or whatever it may be. But it doesn't mean that coach hasn't got the knowledge to help students, because they have, really. What would your take on that, Zane?
Yeah, very, very similar. Yeah, exactly that. In that, just to understand the small nuances that put rounds together. Like, every golfer that comes through the door wants to shoot a better score. Maybe get the odd person who's like a real just golf and swing pervert. They just love it and they just want to get right into all the little details and make their swing look a certain way. You get the odd ones, which I also enjoy, but just the happiness you can get out of shooting a better score, and sometimes that just comes from something you can add, which actually you won't ever see on a video or on a launch monitor number. Which essentially those things I guess are a bit more long term for what you want to be. And then to the point of like the coaches, yes, like I would say my kind of USP or thing I'm really good at helping people with is I have a decent understanding of the golf swing, how I see the baseline of the golf swing, and then how being able to interpret that to something you can actually use. So I'm quite good at that part of it and the playing part of it. But I also understand that there's like super smart people who with ground reaction forces, and someone who's great with all the numbers and the graphs, and like that 100% has a place. And I think golf coaching's getting better now from was 15 years ago, because it used to be you have your golf coach and they do everything. Like you can't go and see anybody else.
Yeah, very territorial.
Yes, very much so. Whereas now it's a bit like, you know what, this bit, I think I can see something, but you know what, let's go and see like Steve Furlonger, for instance.
Well, literally, I was just about to say, we went down there.
Right.
We met up with Martin Borgmeyer and Joe Miller were down there.
Yeah,
and obviously, Lee Cox, their coach, I'd recommend them to go to Steve Furlonger because he had all the ground force reaction plates and everything else. And like I said, that is the new way of coaching, a more holistic approach where you're not as like territorial to your student. You can be a little bit more.
Putting coaches as well now. A lot of guys.
Short game coaches. I actually think, interesting to mention Lee there. I've had a few lessons of Lee. Lee's like one of my favourite people in golf. He's just so, when I went to him to help me with my driving, I thought, I want to hit it further. This was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember my wife doesn't play golf. And I said, I'm just going to see, I was on my phone or whatever, going, this is the guy I'm going to go and see for like long driving, as if she's going to be anywhere interested in it. And she went, well, look at him. He's obviously going to work, isn't he? Like, what do you mean? He goes, he looks like a long drive coach, doesn't he? Like bald hair. He looks like a geezer, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's a brilliant coach. I had a lesson with him, right? And he's chatting away to me, and he kept on doing this little thing where he would like be looking at me in the eye, and then I would hit my shot, and then he'd roll the ball out of the ball tray and up onto the rubber tee with his foot without even looking. He did it about 5 times. I'm like, Lee, what are you doing? He goes, I don't even know how to do that. He just so when someone hits the ball, he just rolls it with their foot while chatting to him up onto the tee.
That's class.
I was like, man, that's so impressive, that is.
I would say that the one thing I've noticed in coach or instructions, I say, for the last probably 10 years, and I think there was a big divide not long ago, and I think it's getting better. I used to always see that there was golf instructors that were like the white coat brigade. And what I mean by that, almost like golf scientists. And they were really, really, really in depth, and they really analysed every single bit of it, but actually weren't the best at translating their message to the student. I would then say on the other side, there was a coach, and that coach had a mixture of level abilities. So some would have really, really high intensity of knowledge of the golf swing, but others would just be able to get their point across in the best possible manner, to be able to coach somebody. I feel like over the time they've got a little bit better. I feel like the golf scientists have become more coaches, and I feel like the coaches have become a little bit more golf scientists. And I think it's helped a lot better the whole industry personally, from what I've experienced in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, I from what I've seen in the last few years, there's a lot of ego has come out of golf coaching. There's still ego, there's ego everywhere, but it's come out of golf coaching a little bit, and it's not as territorial, as you say. And most coaches that I would just you just reach to on social media or so forth, but everyone's quite forthcoming and kind of works together to a certain point. I'm sure there's still some out there still arguing or whatever.
Of course there is.
But when I first started coaching, I thought I kind of played, and I'd been to a lot of top coaches, like Pete Cowan and Rocky helped me out. You mentioned him earlier. And David Ledbetter, I've been to the David Ledbetter School down in Sarasota, down in Bradenton, and then I was coach Scott Cranfield. I'd kind of been to a bunch of them, spent loads of time with Claude Harmon, and then I thought, but I need some sort of qualification. I'm not a PGA professional, so I would go along, and I went along to Foresight. Did this day. It was called Peak Performance. It was their certification.
Yeah, not with Liam, is it?
Yeah,
Mucklow.
Yeah, that's right, with Liam Mucklow. So we sat in the morning. It's in a bit of a classroom scenario. He's the educator, and he's going through. And I'm thinking, these guys are so smart, and it's a room full of pros, then older guys than me. I'm probably becoming that older guy now, and the questions that we're asking, I was thinking, I've got a clue what they're talking about here. And there's a guy there. Is an older guy, lives in Spain, and he's going, all the data and the graphs that I've got on my players, I've seen this and this happen, that spike happens. I'm just thinking, what am I doing? I'm not sure if I've got time to learn all this sort of stuff to become a golf coach. And that was in the morning. I felt way out of my depth. And then in the afternoon, we got split off into groups of 4. So there's 10, 12 groups of 4. And one person had to hit shots, and the other 3 basically had to give them a lesson. Some using a bit of tech or whatever. So I kind of sat back a little bit, and these guys were straight in there. So it's lads hitting these shots, and he's spooning them right. All pros are good players. He's in it way right. And then they're telling them all this stuff. And I'm just kind of hanging back, and this guy's got the iPad, and he's like, you got to feel like you got to get your left knee working quicker early on the downswing, so you get the pressure outside of your foot earlier. That's going to do this to the path. And I was thinking, and this guy was getting worse. And time's pressing on, and they're almost like, we're going to wrap up soon. And I was just thinking, I hadn't said anything. And I said, guys, do you mind if I kind of have a go? And they're lost now, because they just made the guy worse. And they're like, yeah, fine. So I said, should we ask him what shot he's trying to hit? Oh yeah, that's a great idea, isn't it? What shot are you trying to hit? I just want to hit a fade. Right, you want to hit a fade. Right, do you want to hit a push fade? Do you want to aim left and fade it? Or do you want to aim straight and swing over it and fade it? I want to aim straight. Okay, fine. So I'm like, well, just move the ball position. Like, let's go 2 inches up in your stance and just feel like you turn your chest. Okay, he does it and he just rips it. Lovely little knuckle fade. He looks around at me like he's, just like found water. Like, I was like, no, okay, do it again. And he's just ripping these balls out there. And at that point, that was a bit, it almost validated my area. And it was like, okay, I understand that's the thing, but I've got the other side to it. So I'll dip into, I'll try and that part of it. But and then you start to find your own identity, don't you, within coaching, and just be accepting of like, that person's good at that. They're a specialist. Let's just go and use that. Let's let that person be good at that. And this person, I can be good at this piece, and let that person be good at that piece. Because I was a product of going through, had one coach, and and it was a bit like, well, I would look across and think, I need to get better at that part, and there's someone there, but my coach might lose his head if I go and talk to that person, so I can't do it, and then you're held back. And that's what I've tried to do with any players that come through. Like, just have no ego towards it. Like, just let the player get better. Good things will come. Yeah,
I think I might have been on that same day with you. If not,
really?
A very similar one, because I remember that whole thing that you that said not bothered. I might have been the player spooning it off to the right. But yeah, no, it's I feel like what kind of where you've gone from and where you've got to, you seem very comfortable. And then obviously the TV work, that's kind of something fairly new, is it? How long have you been doing that for?
Yeah, actually, oddly enough, I looked on the LinkedIn the other day, and I did my first one in 2019. So it's been a couple of years now, but it starts off like really intermittent. I'm friends with Dennis Pughes from the club that I'm at, and Dennis said, I can retire and you should come along and watch me do a couple of shows. And my manager, he kind of mentioned it to me, like, would you be interested? So I was like, yeah. So I spoke to Dennis. Dennis said, come and watch me. So I watched him do the couple of shows, and then they said, would you like to come and do one next week? So go into the studio at Sky, get the earpiece in and that sort of stuff. And did the first one, and it's just like, even now a little bit, to be honest with you, it's like the most nerve-wracking experience. It's so nerve-wracking.
Well, we had Incy on not long ago, and she said when she first did the studio, she really didn't enjoy it. She really messed up quite a few times, but she said obviously she's got a lot better at it now. But I've been asked to do it, and I'm like, for live TV to speak for that long, I love speaking, but me for live TV, it must be quite daunting, and to know all the players and I'd get all the pronunciation of the names wrong with me.
So you steer away from a couple of them. Yeah.
I bet you do. You end up like, if he's got a complicated last name. Oh, so here's Andy. He's like got some mad last name. Yeah. So do you see you doing more of that, more TV work?
Yeah, so more TV work. Did some more studio with Sky, and then do some of the majors for the BBC Radio, which is like did the radio at the Open last year, which was just, I just loved it. It's one of the best experiences I've done, really. Firstly, because the Open Championship. And then you rock up in the morning and they said, would you go and watch, can you go and follow DJ and Rosie? And you're like, yeah.
Inside the ropes.
Inside the ropes.
Mic'd up. And you're basically just chatting about what they're doing.
Yeah, you're just chatting about what you're doing. You almost can't mess up radio because no one else can see it. So you kind of got that going for you. Whereas obviously the live TV is a bit more pressure because you're trying to add something to the coverage that we're all watching the same thing, so you're trying to add something else in, which maybe is not, to the viewer don't necessarily first see. So that you get your flow to it and that sort of stuff. But it's great fun. I mean, I've always watched the PGA Tour. I've always watched like the golf on television. So now it's not quite a nice excuse because I'm way past going to nightclubs and so forth. So now my weekend's sorted. Get to go in and get to watch the golf, and someone brings you a cappuccino, and you can get the odd dairy milk and it's fish and chips on a Friday night, and it's just actually. I do leave there sometimes thinking, is that a real job? It's
you know what I love about hearing about this, though, is I was playing golf the other day with a young lad and his dad who had just joined with randomly. And the lad was 17, he's off one, he's a really good player, and he's possibly going to have a year out and just play and see how good he gets, and then, maybe go on to play or whatever job in golf. But there are a lot of cool jobs in golf, aren't there? And most people who work in golf, I'm sure, grew up wanting to be players. Yeah. Some obviously do that, and some here don't. But then there's so many jobs that you don't even think of, and it's exciting for people, youngsters coming through, that you might not make it, but there's so many opportunities out there.
So the golf industry is so wide in that way. I mean, for me being a player and being fortunate to play on tour, you just think that the whole world revolves around you. And now coming in from like looking at the TV side of things, you're like the players are just they seem like a big piece because they're in the front of it all, but they're quite a small piece in the whole kind of juggernaut of the industry, and it is and it's good, and you know, and also you seeing people in golf for completely different reasons. Like, you know, some people love it for the social side of it, some people like for the competitive side of it, some people like it because they like having all the new equipment,
the health benefits,
the health benefits. Some people like to have the latest stuff to wear, and that's how they want to do their stuff, and that's what's you know, when you start to coming out of the playing side of it, and now I'm seeing that other side of it. It's fascinating.
Because when you're a player, you must think there's only one thing to do. Is to play golf.
Yeah.
And you can't understand that anyone else would want to play golf if they weren't trying to win tournaments. But like, we go to the driving range a lot and you see such a mixture of golfers or non-golfers.
100%.
Like just a mixture of people trying golf to some capacity. I feel like it's not the last time we're going to see you competing again. I feel like there's an edge in you that kind of gives me a glimpse that you might do it again.
I still enjoy. It's still in me to compete, and I still work on my game a lot. And like I wouldn't be like someone said, "Would you play again?" I would never. I don't think I would set out my stall to be like, right, I'm giving up everything to go play. But you know, if I go to Open qualifying and I sneak through a round or two,
that would be class.
Are you going to do Open qualifying again this year?
Yeah, I'm going to do it this year. I didn't do it last year because I just wanted to do the radio thing. And even I'm booked in to do the radio thing this year. So
you can do both.
No, listen, I'm gonna
just play with a headset on.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Yeah.
Can you just follow your group today? Oh yeah, no problem. I'll just put the headphone on and do the radio.
Just don't get paired with Tyrrell.
Yeah, or if yourself, if you're not playing well, you might get a few bad words out there.
One of the things I wanted to just touch on quickly is obviously you've just been announced as the RNA diversity ambassador. So I saw that online, and then I think that's partly why I got in touch with you to come on, but. Tell us more about it. It sounds exciting.
Yeah, so I've been working with the RNA for about a year and a half or so, like just talking about some of the issues in golf and so forth. And they've been really open to everything, which has been great. That they're really aware of their standing in golf, what they are, what they aren't as well. And so we open up conversations with them, and you know, hopefully to help the educational side of it. And then the RNA when they make a decision, they have to go through quite a long process of having the data and the research to back up why they make certain decisions and why they decide to go down a certain path. So it's taken a while, but it's kind of, it's gotten there now. And then, I guess from my background, like loving golf, my dad being a black guy in golf, like early on, 25 years ago, what that was like, my own experiences of, I haven't had like people come at me directly on racism, but I've been in those situations because people who look at me and wouldn't necessarily know that I'm half black. So I've been in those situations a lot and kind of lived it a little bit from that side of things, and just trying to gel it all together, because I think the approach for golf for a long time has been like, oh, golf's open to all, which actually is like, yeah, but that's not enough. That like just because it's open to all, that doesn't make it welcoming. It's a bit like, oh, we're all going to go over here. You can have a go if you want, but we're not really going to take any notice of you.
Yeah, of course.
And golf has and especially over the last 5 years, golf has the capacity to accommodate pretty much everybody from every walk of life, and for all their different reasons. Like what we're saying there, for me, it was to compete. But now, now coming on the other side, I realise that people use golf for all different reasons, and it's not necessarily a matter of like trying to force your way onto the table. It's just like, how about we just make the table bigger? Because golf can do it.
Of course it can.
And there's so many kind of layers to all this. Like for last year, Slingsby did a golf academy. So they did they took 4 of the female
like Fleur East
presenters,
and Georgia Bingham, was it?
And Fleur East, Bella Shah, Natalie Pinkham, and Helen Skelton.
Oh, that was it, yeah.
And they took they had a coach each, and then they were complete beginners and had 9 months to learn golf, and then had like a mini comp at the end of it, and the best one got into the pro-am at the PGA at Wentworth, like hugely daunting. And I got asked to go along and do one of their things at Topgolf, just give them a few pointers and so forth. And I was thrown right in the deep end with that, by the way. I thought I was going there just to help out a little bit, and they said, "Oh, right, you had all these TV crew there," and they're like, "Right, so what are you going to tell them?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And I had to literally give him a golf lesson in front of everybody, which I didn't think I was going to do. But it was great, right? So my wife come along, and wife, we've been together for however long. She's been on tour with me. She's no interest in picking up a golf club whatsoever. And we finished the afternoon, and we sat around a table, or they sat around a table like this, and they had the gin and tonics out and having a laugh. We're driving home. Here's Louise to me like, I think I might give golf a go. I was like, because she just saw people like her, having a good time, and the social side. Now she has a golf lesson every week. Every Monday she goes with her mates, has a golf lesson, and they have a bit of lunch afterwards. And that to her, she wants to get out on the golf course, but that to her is golf. I'm completely fine with that.
You just thought it was the G&Ts talking at first, but she's actually
a little bit.
She's backed it up.
And she's, I thought
great.
I thought it would be 2 weeks, but she's done it now every Monday for like 3 months.
Brilliant.
And she's pressing on with it. And then you start to see, actually, I see it from a competing background, but that's a social aspect.
Yeah.
And then being part of Black British Golfers, that was another part which was kind of started. I was chatting to this guy Ray. We'd been chatting for a couple of years, and we're like, we probably do a bit more with this. What could happen, what should be happening. And so Ray started this Instagram channel, Black British Golfers, and it was great because I remember he posted like a black guy who was playing golf, and then the next day he'd be like, I found another black golfer, and he'd post it. I found this woman, another black golfer, and he'd post it, and it just like kind of picked up steam. And what was really good that came out of that was, and even the chats with the RNA, it was like, it's great that we can have like an ex-Premier League footballer who now golfs, and they're going to help golf going through, but actually there's also massive power in like just another normal person who's down at the driving range hitting balls and posting that, because people can relate to that, because people aspire to people like them or people they aspire to be, and that has so much power, just seeing someone else out there. And then off the back of that, we found that there was like the Zimbabwean Golf Society, Afro-Caribbean Society, like
we met the Muslim Golf Society.
Amir from the Muslim Golf Society. So all of a sudden, you're like, oh, it is out there.
Yeah.
It is out there. Like golf is actually doing quite a good job. So it's like now, like, how do we show all those so that when someone comes in, they go like, okay, I've been to the driving range or Crazy Golf or been introduced to it by a family member. But always the next step, loads of people try golf and that's really easy. But the next step is like, I want to keep going with this. Where do I go? So it's like now, as we can like kind of show that all these people are out there playing golf, you can help people. Like, you know what? If you want to try golf, those people in your area, and you probably align with them, like, and they're really good people. And then that person then stays in golf. Whereas, like my dad, being a black guy back then, he's very direct about, well, I'm doing this, I'm gonna do whatever. But for the next person to walk into some golf clubs, it's quite daunting.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with my hat on backwards today. Probably 3 years ago, I was hitting balls on the range. It was a Saturday afternoon. I got my shirt out, shorts on, barely anyone out there, and the director of golf at the golf club comes up. Hi Zane, everything right? You've got to turn your hat around. So I was like, well, have I? He's like, well, yeah, you should do really. I was like, well, not looking for confrontation. I said, look, I'll tell you what, I'll meet you in the middle. I'll take it off. I'm not bothered about it.
I'll put it on sideways.
Yeah, put it on sideways. Yeah, I should have done that.
I'll meet you in the middle.
But I'm not looking for confrontation. But is that actually a rule? Yeah. Well, I can bring it up in the meeting. I was like, well, yeah, you should, because I don't have to tuck my shirt in. I can wear jeans in the clubhouse. I can be on my phone. All these things just seems a bit odd that I have to wear my hat a certain way. Like, I'm not sure if that's a rule, but I'm not being confrontational. As it turned out, it wasn't a rule. But at that time, I did feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I felt uncomfortable being myself, and I thought, right, I'm a 36, 37-year-old professional golfer who's been in it forever. Like, and I think if I feel uncomfortable, what would someone who just started the game feel like?
Imagine that was their first time going to the course, and they got
first, second, third time. They wouldn't come back, would they? And that to me is an absolute travesty.
No, there's definitely a link missing between participation and actual golf. Like you see all these driving ranges, they're packed. Well, I've never seen driving ranges busier in my life at the moment. Like we went to Top Golf down in Watford a few weeks ago. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Packed full of, honestly, I would say non-golfers. Yeah. I'd say what we would class as playing 18 holes, having a handicap. But why can't they become that potentially, or at least have a way of being able to become a member of a golf club and play golf regularly? I
think that this is something I have very, very limited knowledge or experience on. But like where we are now in kind of Manchester area is a very mixed, lots of different ethnicities and stuff like that. You go to the golf clubs we go to, it's mostly white people. when you go to the driving range on a night, it's an absolute mix of different backgrounds, races, etc. And you
Young,
wonder what
old, male, female,
and you wonder like, is there something that people feel like they can't go to a golf club because it's very different. It's chalk and cheese, isn't it?
And like say at the driving range, they can wear what they want. They can wear the hat backwards. They can, they can't take that same step back onto a golf course, really, can they at all? And there's definitely a link missing. I feel like I thought about this like quick 6 idea where you like build 6 holes, quite short, like big holes, not bucket holes, but bigger than normal. Just make it fun. No dress code, music layering if you want it. Yeah. And it's that step way between driving range, that, and then golf potentially. It might even be one more step needed between that and golf. But there's definitely, we're in an unbelievable position right now. I don't think golf's ever been stronger. I don't. Like we see it on our viewing figures and stuff, like we're getting more views than ever before. Golf's never been stronger. More people are picking up. People we're bumping into saying I've picked it up in the last 2 years because of lockdown and stuff. I used to play football every week, and then since lockdown, I now play golf because it's more an individual sport and everything else. I feel like we're in such a great position now that we just need to like push on. But the other thing is, I've also heard and see on Twitter, a lot of golfers don't want it to push on. A lot of actual golfers who are they don't want the golf course.
Well, they don't want busier tee times,
which is so it's like a weird battle. Yeah. Like people who work in golf want it to be busier. Yeah, because we want it. We want that energy, and we want that excitement. We want people to enjoy the sport we love so much. But a normal golfer who plays on a Saturday afternoon doesn't want their tee time taken up at 2 o'clock every week because that's when they play. So it's a really weird one, isn't it?
It is.
It's a funny situation in that you could look at dress code, for instance. Like, dress code is quite a big one for me. I think there are some clubs which they're a bit more traditional, and you got to wear the long socks with the shorts and so forth. And like, you know what? Like, if that's the way they want to be, that's completely fine. And when you become a member, you either sign up or you don't sign up to that. But there are enough other places you can go to that will align with wearing a hoodie on the golf course or not having to wear. I mean, in the day when you had to wear golf shoes, now
proper spike shoes,
golf shoes.
Well,
exactly.
Trainers are golf shoes, aren't they? Really?
It's just how can we just make sure that everyone finds their. I personally, I think there's enough space for everybody. But it's just direct because the top of it looks like golf is still traditional, and it's like loads of places we don't have to be like that.
Yeah, I think we're really close to this as well. Like I've seen a lot of places now. Where have I played recently? And I was like, I wonder if they'd let that dress code. And it's like,
I think hoodies now 90% of places are good. Like you can wear a hoodie. Obviously, there's some.
And like golf trainers, you can wear everywhere. Yeah, can't you really?
Well, that's it. And I saw a thing a while ago. Somebody said that like if you go to a smart restaurant on a night out, even if there's not a dress code, you will typically dress quite smart. Yep. If a golf course hasn't got a dress code, a lot of golfers would still turn up in golf gear because that's how they want to present themselves, and that's up to them. Other people might be a bit more relaxed and wear a t-shirt, but it shouldn't really matter, should it? But
crazy. Hopefully it'll change. Well, Zane, you have been a wonderful guest. Anything else you want to talk about, cover?
There's probably about a million things. What in golf do you want to cover? I can cover it.
What in golf do I
Where can people follow you?
How to get better, Zane? I want to get better at golf, please.
You've learnt the trick. Put the ball back in your stance. Start on the inside.
Yeah, that's
exactly what I need to do.
Where can people find you on social media if they want to check you out and follow you?
So Instagram is probably what I use the most. That's at Zane Scotland Golf.
Yeah.
I think I'm at Zane Scotland on Twitter. Facebook, Zane Scotland.
Cool.
We'll put all the links
we'll link them down below as well.
Yeah, they're the main ones really. I think I've got a TikTok, but I logged out of it, started another one, but now it's the wrong one, so I'm not quite up on the TikTok.
I've got a TikTok, but I've deleted the app because it's such a waste of time. I find myself just like
it's carnage.
Numb. Oh yeah, it just does your head in. Like an hour, suddenly you go, oh Christ, I've flicked on like 1,000 TikToks here. Anyway, Zane, you've been a pleasure. All the best with everything else that you're going to cover. I think we should try and shoot a video one day.
Love to. Yeah, brilliant.
You want me to come down to Wisley? Was that? Yeah.
You boys are welcome.
I need a mental. Well, out of the 3 things that Valdo said, I don't particularly have technical strength. I don't particularly have physical strength. I don't particularly have mental strength at the moment. So all 3 could be worked on, please. That'd be great.
Oh, yeah, it'll take 20 minutes or so. Depends how much we're going to play for.
Yeah, it depends how much you tell me. Zane, you've been a pleasure. Thanks so much. Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we shall see you soon next week on the podcast. Peace out.